I want to have 2 more fights this year. Then after that, take off a little bit of time, maybe have a kid or something, and then come back and fight some more.
Becoming, it doesn't mean I'm not going to have time for the other kids, but it does mean that I have a new baby and I have to focus and give that baby my undivided.
Light-skinned girls who think they just so pretty and just because they born light-skinned that they just all that they can come up with shit talk.
Gab is like my best friend. I talk to him about everything, and when like the time is right, people want details of how.
This is not just another celebrity love story that fades after a few headlines. This is the kind of situation that lingers because it feels familiar in a painful way. It's the kind of story that forces people to stop and reflect, not because of fame but because of emotional truth. What allegedly happened here wasn't loud or explosive at first. It was quiet, slow, and damaging over time. People often think Claressa Shields only fights in the ring. They see the strength, the discipline, the confidence, and the victories. What they don't always see is that even the strongest people can be vulnerable when it comes to love. According to what has been claimed, Claressa's hardest battle didn't involve gloves or judges. It happened privately behind closed doors, with a man she believed she was building a future with. Sources close to the situation say Claressa didn't enter this relationship chasing attention, money, or status. She didn't fall for headlines or public appearances. She fell for conversations that happened when no one was watching. She believed in promises spoken quietly, not loudly. Promises about commitment, stability, and a shared future. Allegedly, she believed marriage wasn't just a possibility, but a plan. According to these accounts, Claressa believed Papoose wasn't spending time with her casually. She believed he was preparing for a life together. She believed she was chosen, not temporary. And when someone speaks with certainty instead of hesitation, it's easy to trust them, especially when they understand struggle and resilience the way Claressa does. But this is where the story takes a darker turn. According to insiders, while Claressa was investing her heart fully, Papoose's loyalty was never truly exclusive. His attention, his emotional energy, and his priorities were allegedly still connected somewhere else. Claressa, sources say, was kept close, but she was never fully chosen. She was present but not prioritized. Those familiar with the situation claim that when things became unstable in another chapter of his life, Claressa's role shifted. She wasn't loved more deeply. She was allegedly used more strategically. Used for public image, used for visibility, used for access, and used while being reassured that she was the one who mattered. The most painful part, according to these claims, is that Claressa remained faithful while other women allegedly existed in the background. She didn't stay silent blindly. She asked questions. She demanded respect. She tried to establish clarity. But sources say that once she reached a point where she refused to accept less than she deserved, the energy changed. Allegedly, that was the moment she became disposable. People close to Claressa say promises of marriage were spoken, but never backed by intention. She reportedly adjusted her life around love. She slowed down decisions. She made plans with the future in mind. Financial choices, schedules, and long-term goals were shaped by a belief that she was building something real. What she allegedly discovered later was devastating. She was never the priority. She was an option, an emotional convenience, someone who filled space when it was needed. By the time the truth began to surface, sources say the damage was already deep. There are clips and moments that people now replay differently. Public interviews where Claressa spoke warmly about support. Smiles that once looked like security now feel heavy in hindsight. She spoke about how different this love felt. How his presence gave her comfort. How his words made her feel understood. At the time, it all felt genuine. Now those moments feel painful. What you're about to hear people say is not a fairy tale. It's more like testimony. A story where every promise is examined, every intention questioned, and every silence weighed carefully. It's not about spectacle. It's about accountability. According to sources, when Claressa entered Papoose's life, she was already carrying years of discipline and sacrifice. Her success didn't come easily. She wasn't looking for someone to save her. She was looking for stability, understanding, and peace away from the spotlight. Those close to the situation claim that's exactly what Papoose presented. Not loudly, not recklessly, but with calm words that felt intentional. He spoke with certainty, not vague dreams. Marriage wasn't described as a fantasy. It was described as a direction. When someone who understands struggle hears intention, they listen differently. But while Claressa was being told she was the future, there was allegedly a past that never truly let go. Multiple sources claim Remy Ma was never completely out of the picture. Not emotionally, not symbolically. Claressa, according to those familiar, didn't realize she was standing in what would later feel like a waiting room. People close to her say Claressa invested emotionally during a time when clarity was missing. She was reassured when doubts surfaced. She was told to be patient, told timing was the only issue, and patience, when mixed with hope, can become dangerous. As time passed, whispers allegedly began to surface. When things became unstable elsewhere, attention shifted. Not out of devotion but convenience. Claressa, sources claim, suddenly became more visible. Public moments increased. Private conversations deepened. The narrative shifted quietly. Someday became soon. Soon never arrived. According to insiders, Claressa started noticing cracks, inconsistencies, silence where reassurance once lived. Messages felt different. Conversations felt shorter. The absence of clarity became louder than any argument ever could. Those familiar with the situation say Claressa didn't speak immediately because she was still trying to understand how something that felt so intentional could collapse so quietly. What looked like distance from the outside was allegedly an internal struggle. She replayed conversations, re-examined promises, tried to pinpoint where honesty turned into performance. The emotional aftermath, sources say, wasn't dramatic at first. It was heavy. Claressa reportedly questioned herself before she questioned him. She wondered if she misunderstood, if she expected too much, if patience had slowly turned into blindness. That internal conflict is what kept her silent while speculation grew. Behind the scenes, communication allegedly became selective. Messages went unanswered. Plans stayed unclear. Attempts to re-establish understanding were met with vague responses. What once felt like priority allegedly began to feel like inconvenience. According to multiple accounts, Claressa noticed a pattern. Warmth appeared in public. Distance followed in private. She began to feel activated when useful and paused when not. That realization, sources claim, hurt more than any argument ever could. The alleged presence of other women didn't appear all at once. It surfaced in fragments, conflicting timelines, familiar names appearing unexpectedly, inconsistencies that couldn't be explained away forever. When Claressa confronted what she believed she was seeing, those close to her say she wasn't met with honesty. She was met with deflection. Instead of reassurance, she was told she was overthinking. Instead of transparency, she was given space. When Claressa confronted what she believed she was seeing, those close to her say she wasn't met with honesty. She was met with deflection. Instead of reassurance, she was told she was overthinking. Instead of transparency, she was given space. That's when Claressa reportedly understood that loyalty wasn't being protected. It was being managed. What followed wasn't a dramatic breakup. It was a slow withdrawal. Emotional access decreased. Support became conditional. Promises turned into theories. Marriage, once spoken with certainty, became something that might happen later. Later became never. According to those close to Claressa, this is where the emotional cost became undeniable. She had shaped her life around a future that was quietly being abandoned. Financial decisions, scheduling, and long-term planning had all been influenced by expectations that were no longer acknowledged. And still, she stayed longer than she should have. Sources say she stayed because she believed effort mattered, because she believed integrity would be rewarded, because walking away without exhausting every option felt like giving up. That belief made the ending devastating. When the separation finally happened, insiders claimed there was no closure, no final explanation, no acknowledgement of harm, just emotional distance and a sense that Claressa had been edited out of a story she helped support. Friends say the realization came in waves. Sadness, confusion, anger, then clarity. That clarity led Claressa to describe the relationship in ways that shocked people. Not because they were cruel, but because they were honest. She allegedly described her experience as one where her authenticity was used, not valued, where devotion was welcomed but not returned. The word opportunist, sources say, didn't come from anger. It came from reflection, from noticing how attention increased when her presence elevated perception and faded when it didn't. From recognizing how emotional availability was expected from her but rarely matched. According to insiders, Claressa reached a realization that changed everything. The relationship may have served someone else's needs long before it served hers. The future she was promised was referenced, not built. Once that understanding settled in, silence no longer felt protective, felt complicit. Claressa allegedly didn't speak out to punish. She spoke to reclaim her narrative. Her words weren't dramatic confessions. They were measured reflections shaped by restraint. Public reaction was immediate. Support poured in. Doubt followed. Some questioned her timing. Others questioned her motives. But those close to her insist the reason was simple. She was done carrying a story that was never hers alone. What made this resonate, insiders say, is that it wasn't about scandal. It was about imbalance. About how strength in one area doesn't protect you in another. Claressa could dominate in her profession, but emotional ambiguity disguised as certainty caught her off guard. The most haunting part of this alleged story isn't what happened. It's what didn't. The future that never arrived. The accountability that never came. The explanation that was never offered. Observers are left with an uncomfortable question. Not whether love existed, but whether intention did. Whether promises were meant to be fulfilled or simply used to keep someone close. According to those close to Claressa, she has moved forward with resolve, not bitterness. The sadness remains, but it doesn't define her. What defines her now is clarity. Not every connection built on words is supported by action. As this story continues circulating, one truth becomes harder to ignore. Some relationships don't end because love disappears. They end because truth finally arrives. What followed wasn't an apology. It was a shift. Silence became strategic. Claressa's name was avoided. Invitations stopped. Her presence was quietly erased. That erasure, sources say, hurt more than arguments ever could. Claressa began connecting dots she once ignored. Praise felt transactional in hindsight. Support felt conditional. The realization was painful but clarifying. Insiders say she felt strategically replaced. Patterns repeated. Promises recycled. Not by accident but because they had worked before. Eventually, denial ended. Claressa allegedly accepted that the love she felt was real, but mutuality was not. That she was building something genuine while someone else was managing outcomes. That understanding broke her. Friends say she questioned herself deeply. How discipline didn't protect her. How affection disguised intention. But sadness gave way to controlled anger. Not rage. Awareness. Claressa spoke not for attention but accuracy. The public response remains divided. But those close to her say the point isn't endurance. It's accountability. She wasn't told she was temporary. She was told she was the future. Building your life around a future that never existed leaves damage that doesn't fade quietly. According to insiders, Claressa also confronted the idea that independence made her vulnerable. That self-sufficiency allowed others to take without giving. This wasn't about jealousy. It wasn't about competition. It was about withheld truth. Promises without intention. Emotional labor without commitment. Claressa eventually concluded the relationship didn't fail because love ended. It failed because honesty never existed fully. She wasn't abandoned suddenly. She was phased out once her role expired. Grief followed. Then resolve. Claressa no longer frames herself as a victim. She frames herself as informed. The story resonates because it's familiar. Many have lived it. Many have mistaken access for affection. And that's why this isn't just gossip. It's a reminder. Believing someone doesn't make you weak. Speaking your truth makes you powerful. Not every promise is meant to be kept. But every truth deserves to be heard.